Hello and welcome to round 8 of Xbox F1 Realistic Performance League with myself, Andriy, and joining me today is your man, Matt. How you doing, buddy?
I'm fantastic, mate. Again, absolute pleasure to be here. Silverstone, we all know is a great track. Should be some fantastic racing on the go.
It looks like it's going to be a fantastic grid today after having a look at the provisional grid setup that our league manager has shown us. So we're just waiting for a few of the drivers to get ready and sort ourselves out. We'll make sure that I'm on spectator. So in that case, I have an announcement to make about this league. Today is 50th race in Xbox RP, which is a fantastic milestone for any league to reach, and for this league specifically, as it was a milestone in the community for everybody, showing that realistic performance can be done on the Xbox F1 2020 game here. With everybody, I would like to show my support and give everybody a big thank you and a round of applause to all those that have stuck with a couple of years that we've been doing racing on Xbox and been driving in the realistic performance category. Now, without further ado, we're going to run through a few of the drivers to watch tonight, because me and Matt were actually talking about it before we got on the stream, and we've come up with a few drivers that we're going to be definitely watching closely tonight as they make some moves around the grid. Isn't that right, Matt?
Certainly is. We've obviously got last week's race winner in Raza. Obviously, he's going to be starting a little bit lower down on the grid today, but he's definitely one to watch out for. He got to the front of the race last time and just held the lead and just defended and defended and defended. So see if we can get a similar performance from him today.
Definitely, and I think in watching all of that as well, I do feel that we've got a couple of other guys in the pack with everybody. We've got a couple of wild cards in here like Sync Rainer, who we haven't seen too much in this league. He just kind of come in at the tail end of the league, but he looks like he's got a fast guy. Ice Cream 05, again, we're not sure if we've seen the full performance from him last week, but his qualifying performance seemed pretty decent. Obviously, Kota is quite a difficult track for everybody to work with, but we should be ready to be going racing any minute now, as we've had to delay a little bit of the start today just so that everybody can get in from work. You know what that's like, everyone's going to be here. So, just from my point of view, I'm going to be watching Lightshock 16 as his fantastic showing around the Red Bull Ring just a few races ago definitely was one to watch for everybody, unfortunately being taken out on the final few laps of the races he was going to pit. But again, we all know how that ends for everybody in the fantastic Red Bull Ring. Just that last kind of two corners with the mix of having the pit lane on that line. Unfortunately, a driver didn't read that very well. So it's gonna be a good race.
I also think any of the few drivers that were in that midfield battle last week, it was so compact that were battling from start to finish in the race. Any of them could quite easily break away from that pack and challenge the top runners. There's so many people that could make a real name for themselves today by coming in and taking the victory.
Definitely, I would agree with you there, Matt. I think a few of the drivers, especially IRL Mats, who unfortunately got a little bit unlucky last race. He got involved in a little bit of a tussle in midfield, and a little bit of contact sent him down a little bit lower than where he was wanting to finish. But yeah, a few of the drivers today know that they're going to be already on the back foot, especially talking about the likes of Raza 410 in that Alfa Romeo Racing, when he obviously was in a faster car last week and he just enjoyed the power that he had underneath the hood. I do believe he was in the pink Racing Point.
I think that's part of
had a bit of power.
I do think that's part of the fun of the reverse grid, especially because it gives everybody a chance to race in the slightly faster cars, especially if you've not had the best performance the week before. You can sort of make up for that this week. And I think quite a few people will be trying to make amends from last week and prove themselves in the faster cars.
Definitely. And just one more driver that I think that we should be watching out for today. He wasn't too happy with his choice of car, and I think that was El Senedo, who, again, he actually had a decent showing last week in the McLaren. I think he was hoping that he would be given the McLaren again, but unfortunately he's been dropped down into the Ferrari for this race. Which I don't think he's going to be too bad in. He was saying in the chat how he's going to need to do a lot of weight shedding to be competitive. But I'm not sure in what context he was meaning. Those of you that have joined or in the Discord will definitely know what I'm talking about. But it's going to be, I think, either way today at Silverstone, it's going to be a fantastic race.
It's certainly a race that I don't think we'll be able to call until it could potentially go down to the last few laps.
Definitely, and the great thing about this reverse grid for us as well is there's no quali. That means that we can just get straight into the action, obviously, after the after lights out, and we're just going to be on fire today watching these guys go around the track.
Straight into the chaos.
Yes, straight into the chaos, which we hope doesn't ensue like it did on Tuesday.
I've never seen anything like that race on Tuesday.
How many safety cars? 4 safety cars we saw come out?
I think we counted 4. I think that was including a virtual safety car as well. I think the safety car did more laps out there than some of the drivers managed, unfortunately. So it was a chaotic race to say the least.
I think we actually seen that somebody counted it that the safety car laps totally accrued for half of that race. It's a 50% race.
Wow.
So that shows out of 36 laps that there was, 18 laps of that was under safety car, which is really quite sad when you're talking about the top end of performance. But this is going to be, was it 4 safety cars plus a virtual? So it was that one extra one. That's insane. That's just insanity. Talking through all that, but yeah, I've got my rich girl iced tea here, Lipton peach iced tea, so I'm ready to watch my race here.
Sounds like you're absolutely spoiling yourself. I'm just left with a bit of water by my side. I think you're doing it the right way, to be fair.
I don't know. I mean, I don't live in LA, so I wouldn't tell you otherwise.
That would be the dream, wouldn't it?
if only one day that we make it to LA.
I think we've had the weather though better than LA recently. If the article I was reading was to be believed, but that's the one thing.
I would assume so. Who wants cancerous smog anyway? We have the beautiful fresh air of the UK.
Can't beat it. You never know if one day you're in shorts or if you're in flood gear ready to ski.
Water skiing through the streets. That's fantastic. And in actually talking about that, I was outside just now. During after lunch, I decided to go out for a quick wander, and just beautiful views I had around me, and it just made me appreciate my country for what it really was. And I'm looking out my window right now, and what a beautiful sunset. I'm a sucker for sunsets, man. This is fantastic. And Matt's had the pleasure of seeing the photos that I was taking with my fantastic photography skills as I was out for my walk. So
I think you're heading down the wrong career path. I think photography is the way to go for you if this doesn't work.
Yeah, definitely. If this doesn't work out, we may as well become a photographer. So it's the joys of having a good phone with a good camera.
I certainly could agree with that, especially if you've got the nice area, but it looks like we are on the grid.
It's going to be a good one today, guys, and that's all the drivers now ready to go, and they're going to take some nice steady lap to get round, get their tyres warm, and ready to race.
Seems to be everybody going for the soft tyre strategy.
That is exactly what we're going to be working through today. A lot of the drivers will be trying to go 2-stop round here. This is a 26 lap race, so it's just a little bit smaller, but we are running completely sim damage here, and just as I'm setting everything up for everybody to watch on the grid.
I do apologise, Andrew. I was actually mistaken. We seem to have 4 drivers going for the medium compounded tyre. Interestingly, from the beginning.
That would make sense here. Yes, there we go. I managed to get the right tab up. I had it on the stops. We'll have that changed throughout the race to have a look. But in the meantime, I'm going to run us through all our basic stats and stuff like that for this evening, including some cheeky plugs of our social media channels. If I can find it all, hopefully. I had everything up earlier, so this should be a good one for everyone.
It's never there when you need it, isn't it?
There it is. That's what I was looking for. Fantastic. I'll get this all up, and hopefully we can talk through it before the start of the race goes. It's gonna. Don't you think, Matt? It's gonna be difficult for these guys to manage their tires around here.
Completely. Silverstone's renowned for obviously tyre temperatures, tyre wear, especially on the game. So I think this race, as much as we've got some very fast drivers on the grid, it could also come down to whether somebody goes and changes up their strategy for an overcut or undercut. I think it could come down to, the race could come purely down to whoever can manage their tyres better.
Oh, definitely. And in talking about all that now, a few of the drivers just really aggressively outrushing Singh Rainer there, trying to get heat in those soft tyres. He wants to have a good start, it seems. I'm going to have a look quickly, because a few of the drivers unfortunately couldn't make it tonight, and we'll touch on a little bit more as to what teams they're in during the race, hopefully when it dies down. But just remember, all our advertising and stuff like that will be probably done throughout the race, so make sure you're staying tuned, and yes, we'll have more action for you guys when it comes closer to the time. 5 red lights. And off we go for the start of the 8th round of the Xbox RP Championship. Some really good starts there. It looks like the 2 Renaults there going off very well. Firamoto managing to hold his lead. Stallion W7 getting overtaken and then having to get back on James F1 ETC now, who's pushed him out of the leading spots.
It was a disaster.
Good battling there going on.
It was a disastrous start for AC Oakhill. Last year's runner-up is currently down right in the last position on the grid. He seemed to run really wide and has dropped down quite a few positions there.
Yeah, I don't know what actually happened to him. We were on with him at the start. He had to seem like he managed to gain a few positions, but maybe a little bit of wheel banging has caused him to push wide. That might be down to have a look at the end of the race, but James F1 ETC now ahead of Stallion W7 by over a second already.
Johnson has just lost what looks like a bit of his front wing. He clipped the barrier there coming through sector 2. He went very, very wide and is now going for an overtake actually, but he has got damage to his front wing in the Mercedes.
So that could be quite disastrous in that Mercedes. As we know, that car is very indeed what could be considered one of the most powerful cars in F1 history, and it needs all that downforce for it to be fast.
Jamie 29, the Red Bull, has spun out. I didn't see any contact there. He did catch his tyre on the grass and has spun out and has ended up right down to the bottom end of the grid. So very unfortunate for him.
In talking about that, actually, Jamie 29X is the only driver in history to, have so many races on the grid and still not score a podium. So unfortunate for him, but he is still hunting for that first podium position here. And could this be his race, even though he has had that little bit of an incident?
Well, we'd have to see. We've got 2 drivers currently in the pits there with the Mercedes, the St. Johnston, who of course had the front wing damage, and M. Watson coming back out of the pits as well in the Red Bull.
I would say that could be a good time for a lot of the drivers to come into the pits, but still no safety car, unlike the last race that we saw here on Tuesday, which seemed to have a safety car around every corner of the track.
Certainly did.
Tornadoes chasing down DJ Danny right now. DJ Danny's a little bit farther behind the pack as he was wanting to start today, but he definitely made up a few positions in Kota, but it wasn't as many as he was liking. He definitely wanted to make a little bit more up. He agreed that Kota wasn't his track, but definitely, as any competitive driver would be, as one of the championship leaders at the moment, he would be wanting to have a better result.
Interestingly, Andrew, AC Oakhill has now moved up from bottom of the grid to P12, so it's been what was a disastrous start for him is now really starting to seem to come into his own and find a bit of pace in that racing point.
It could be one of these things that all three of these drivers actually in the mid of the pack now are actually pushing to maintain pace so that they can almost DRS past their Sharks. Oh, look at that. Fantastic exit there from El Senedo, but he's going to get a little bit caught up behind Sir Sharks as DJ Danny blocked his move, which I guess you could call that a very good way around it. But both the cars are sandwiching what could be considered DJ Danny's worst choice, which is starting on soft tyres, but it could work out if there's a safety car, as these two guys are running on medium tyres. Obviously no scrub on these things since we didn't have a quali, so these tyres will now be coming into their own. Those soft tyres will start to fall off in the next few laps.
It's definitely a fantastic battle in the midfield with those 4 or 5 drivers.
DJ Danny making a mistake there. Is the DRS zone going to save him though? Definitely. That Williams seems to have a lot more power in a straight line than the Ferrari does, which in some kind of cases actually makes sense. DJ Danny on board with him and watch from behind. Look at that train of cars. There must be about 6 cars in that train behind DJ Danny now. They're all within 0.3 of each other. Coming down the start-finish straight.
We seem to have had a couple of penalties coming in just whilst you're watching that battle, Andrew. Jamie 29X and Johnston and M Watson all have received time penalties. Interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if Jamie 29X got a speeding in the pit lane one. Oh, and we just saw behind us the Sync Rainer get squeezed out and causes some damage to himself. But that is now DJ Danny past Sir Sharks coming up into the endurance pits. Fantastic work from him in the DRS zone. That Alfa Romeo, we know, is just a little bit more pacey than the Williams. Williams actually having the Mercedes power unit and the Alfa Romeo having the Ferrari power unit. So you can see where the speed lies. I think it's more in the downforce department for the Sauber Alfa Romeo.
Jamie 29X has just pulled off a fantastic move around the inside of IRL Max there. He had a very, very bad exit coming down the straight, but was able to get just around the outside of him on the corner. Fantastic driving between those two and a fantastic battle for 13th. Saying that Jamie 29X has just moved up to P12 as well. So he took both passes in very quick succession there.
It would be expected in that Red Bull round here. We know that the Red Bull's quite a pacey car in this game. A lot of downforce, and it runs a high aggressive rake as well, and I'm sure he's doing exactly the same thing as what Max Verstappen likes, which is a high back end to maximise downforce, to give better angle and traction on the corners.
It looks like, Andrew, sorry to interrupt you, it looks like Lightshock's got a bit of front wing damage in the Williams down in P9. Looks like one of the end plates has come off. I didn't see what's happened, but he's also picked up a penalty in the process.
I wonder if it could have been the issue there where he was squeezing. I wonder if it was him that made contact with Sync Rainer coming round down one of the straights. It could have been something around about that, because there was a big line of cars all the way from probably about P5 where DJ Danny is now, all the way down into about P10, P11. So it would make sense if it may have been him that's caused the damage to Sync Rainer, and he's been given a time penalty for that.
Be absolutely devastated for him though in that Williams. He had a good start, and then to get front wing damage in that Williams is going to be a real struggle here from here now for him.
The two Alpha Tauris are just pulling away now. It seems to be the Renaults and the Alpha Tauris leading here. Fairmoto still in the lead, but not by much, as James F1 is pushing to get on the back of that Renault. Fairmoto won the not the last race, but the race before at the Red Bull Ring. Fantastic drive from him. He actually finished P2, but a late penalty for Stallion W7 for contact with Lightshock 16 when he was going into the pit lane, saw him be moved out of the podium positions.
Ice Cream 05 is right on the tail of Surshaks. He's just overtook Razza, but Razza seems to be trying to get him back down the straight, and he seems to be going down the inside. Wheel for wheel racing, but he's just pulled out there quite sensibly, I think. Fantastic battle going on for those two.
For Sync Rainer as well, after having that spin, his tyres are going to be a little bit flat spotted, but he'll just be a bit happier to be regaining positions again. He's now back up into P11.
I think that front wing damage for Lightshock Andriy seems to be affecting him quite a bit, because he's running very, very wide on some corners and is dropping positions and dropping time as well to the Josh 32 behind him in the Haas. So I wonder how long he's going to stay out now with that front wing problems, of course.
It would be the assumption that these drivers are going to be trying to conserve their tyres as much as possible. And
we got
if I am right in saying, Lightshock is on soft, so it could be within the next few laps he decides to dive into the pits to get an early set of hards.
Sorry to interrupt you again, mate, but Alcinado has just had a spin in the Ferrari and has lost a couple of positions. I didn't see what happened, and it doesn't look like he's got any damage, but he definitely lost a lot of time there and had a spin through this, and has just picked up a 3-second time penalty as well, interestingly enough. So disaster for him.
It would be safe to say that he's maybe dove wide into a few corners now for picking up multiple warnings.
I would assume he hasn't shedded enough weight properly.
Yeah, I would assume that he needed to do a bit more weight reduction to get that Ferrari a bit more competitive. He's actually now under pressure from AC Oakhill, which is just behind him. He's dropping a little bit of time. One of the medium tyre runners in this set, and he must have really cooked him up when he took that spin. He's really starting to lose a lot of time now to AC Oakhill in the pink Mercedes.
The other pink racing point car here, Ice Cream 05, is right on the back of DJ Danny in the Williams. Fantastic battle for them going through Sector 2. DRS open, we can see if he can make a move here. As he's trying to go around the outside, trying to go the long way round. DJ Danny defending again, but can he hold him off for much longer?
Oh, and the Red Bull behind Jamie29X nearly going into the back of Ice Cream 05 into that corner, but there we go, right in the slipstream, engine map. He tried to get round DJ Danny, very strong on the defence there in the Williams to maintain P5 for the moment.
I'm not sure if AC Oakhill has just had another spin.
Oh, banging wheels again. Jamie29X losing time there as he bangs wheels.
We've just had a collision, unfortunately. Alcinado and the Josh 32 both spun off there through at the end of Sector 1. I'm not quite sure what happened. Both of them obviously caught up together, and both have spun, so both have lost quite a few positions there for the Ferrari driver and the Haas driver.
That'll be detrimental for Alcinado's push for mid-title in the championship. Oh, DJ Danny going a bit wide. He's left the door wide open for Jamie29X coming through in Maggots and Beckett's now, and he does. He has to let him through. Very unlucky there for DJ Danny, as I think his soft tyres are now just a little bit overcooked for his liking, so I can very much see him go in at the end of this lap. He's now letting past Sync Rainer, as I'm assuming. He's not picked up damage, but he is running it really thin on those soft tyres.
Jamie29X has just took Ice Cream 05 as well in the pink racing points to get up to P5, but interestingly, when he was making that move on DJ Danny, he did pick up a 3-second time penalty there, so that could come back to haunt him after he's done all this hard work. If those drivers can stick to him, there could be positions up for grab decided by the penalties, unfortunately, for Jamie.
Yes, and definitely I think you can see that out of the top 10 runners, 8 of them have no penalties at the moment, so this could be decided down by penalties like last week was. The two positions from second and third and downwards was just who got least penalties. Waiting for Sector 2, it seemed.
We were trying to figure out who was going to leapfrog who with the penalties.
Yeah, and we just couldn't manage to get it out. Just while all the battling is ensuing, we'll just stay on board with Sir Sharks as I run through the advertising for the Invictus weekly schedule. So on Mondays at this time, you can see every bit of action on the PS F1 League on YouTube with Gareth and Sab. On Tuesdays, you can find the PS F2 League at 8 o'clock, streamed by Malc and Craig on YouTube. Same times as usual. Xbox F1 here, live on this Twitch channel. Again, streamed by Keiran and Dom. Really good friends of ours. They are going to be live again next Tuesday at 8 o'clock GMT. PSF3 is streamed on YouTube now with Wojciech and Hoopers at 8 o'clock. And on the same time, it will also be streamed on YouTube as the PS F4 League. And it is streamed by Andriy, and we still haven't found a second commentator for that. But if you do know somebody that could do that, please let us know and contact one of us here at the Invictus Racing League. You can either contact myself, or you can contact Matt or Fairmoto, who is in the chat here, and he'll get you in contact with the PS guys and get you PC guys and get you guys on here. PCF1 live on YouTube as well on Wednesdays, same time by JCol and Dan, and also on Wednesdays, PCF2 League live on YouTube with Geek and it's Fozzy. Obviously, you can catch us every Thursday live here on Twitch with myself and Matt for the Xbox RP League, and also on Thursdays as well. So if you get a little bit bored of me and Matt's banter, which I don't think you can, I will take massive offence if you do. You can go to YouTube and watch Tim and Malc as they stream the PS RP League at 8 o'clock. So that is our little bit of advertisement. You can also follow us on Twitter as well.
Just as you've been reading out those advertisements, Andrew, we've had quite a few drivers coming into the pits, including Fairmoto, who hasn't been able to shake James F1 off his tail for the race win. Him and Botch Gerbil were closing the gap up just before he decided to dive into the pits. So he's got it all to do when he comes out to keep that lead.
It's going to be one of these races, I think, where it's going to be down to penalties and pit stops. As now all the drivers seem to be accruing quite a lot of track limit penalties now. We do run strict corner cutting, so it's very easily.
I think some of the drivers will be hoping that changes with the amount of penalties that are being accrued at the moment.
In talking that way, we've also got the Invictus RL Xbox Twitter that you can follow at InvictusRL underscore Xbox, and you can also follow all the other ones from that channel as well. So feel free to join in and have us going live.
James F1 diving into the pits. Nice, so it'd be interesting to see how far he comes out behind Fairmoto. They were very, very close to each other when Fairmoto dove into the pits.
Botch Gerbil is still taking the lead. He's actually 7 seconds ahead of James F1 on old tyres, both of them on old tyres. So James F1 could be on the back foot here as he goes into the pits. And so is Jamie29X as he comes out on some... he's not on fresh rubber just yet, but he could be as we come closer to the end of the race. We're nearly halfway through, actually, already. Time flies when you're having fun, isn't that right, Matt?
There's just so many battles going on all over the track that this race is just so entertaining. As we see Sink Rainer here tracking down AC Oko's just coming out of the pits or in fresh mediums. He's going to be very close behind DJ Danny.
So Sharks is now still running on old mediums. He might have another couple of laps on those medium tyres, but it could be down to the wire for him. Elsonedo as well. He's running, a lot of the top drivers at the moment are running old rubber. So it could be down to these guys pitting in the next few laps that could decide their podium positions here.
Well, Botch Jebbles, who was leading the race, has just come into the pits. Of course, he's gone 2 laps longer on the soft tyres than Fairmoto, who was in the lead before he pitted. So it'll be interesting to see if the overcut's going to work out for him.
Definitely, and I think he maybe just felt a little bit more comfortable on the older rubber round here, which actually a lot of drivers do. So you actually see quite a lot of the top guys in the Xbox category, and even just when it comes to watching the top runners in F1 esports, they actually like starting off the race on some kind of older tyres, so that they have a little bit of a back foot to work from around here. As we're watching Sir Sharks still running in second position, as the 2 top guys at the moment, Jamie29X and Sir Sharks, running old mediums of about 12.5 laps old.
Interestingly, in the time that Fairmoto and James F1 have pitted, James F1 has actually overtook Fairmoto, and Botch Gerbil has come out not too far behind them, but behind Alcinado. So I think he may have lost a little bit of time there, which he could come back to regret the decision to stay out slightly longer.
Definitely got a bit of a train forming up between 3rd and 6th at the moment, as all these drivers are fighting for position. As Fairmoto looks like he is right on the tail of James F1. These guys had a bit of a tussle at the start of the race. Fairmoto getting off very well and leaving him in the dust. But obviously that is James F1 on fresh tyres, and so is Fairmoto. So this could be down to the wire, as Matt was saying.
So there's just been a 5-second penalty for M. Watson in the Red Bull. Oh, I believe we've just lost him as I was saying that. Coming into the pits, he seems to have unfortunately disconnected from the session. So fingers crossed we can get him back, Andrew.
Retired there, Matt. Yeah, I actually think he's fully retired from the race. I'm assuming he just wasn't driving very well today. He was running in the lower end of the field, so it could be just a case of him just DCing as he's had enough. In that case, though, it doesn't make too much of a difference for next week, as we do have Quali back again. As I will actually find out what the next race is. We are actually in France for next week, so Paul Ricard, quite a fast circuit, and we're going to have, obviously it's not like in ACC where you've got the big long straight. You actually do have the chicane in the middle of the long straight, so there is quite a lot of chances for these guys to overtake on that track. So again, a very interesting track choice by the Xbox boys to have this calendar.
It's going to be another very exciting race, isn't it? This one's just as exciting, and one's going to carry the momentum on. Fantastic track to race at.
I'm going to go back on board with Sir Sharks. He's actually 11 seconds behind Jamie29X now. This could be Jamie29X's chance to finally get a podium to his name in the F1 Xbox history in both series that he has competed in. The normal equal performance and RP for the couple of years that they have run the leagues.
Fairmoto Industries still hasn't been able to overtake James F1. He's stuck at the minute, and James F1 seems to be able to hold him off very, very well at the moment. Some very good defensive driving coming from the AlphaTauri there, as Fairmoto looks to make a little move there, but he pulls out of it. Fantastic race between those two.
Actually looking at the front of Jamie29X's Red Bull, I think he's got a tiny bit of a dent on the front wing, but I don't think it's anything serious, as he might have actually clipped the front of one of the drivers when he had that bit of an incident earlier on. But he's not missing an end plate, and there's no technical damage to the wing, so he is driving perfectly fine at this moment in time. He's starting to miss a couple of apexes around Max and Beckett.
Interestingly, IRL Max is back in pit. I think it might have been a mistaken tyre, as he went onto the hard tyre and is now going onto the mediums again. So that's his second stop. I'm not sure if that was strategically planned.
But that's Jamie29X, sorry to cut in there,
No,
he's now dove into the pits 13 seconds ahead, 14 seconds ahead in fact, of his second place driver. So roughly 26 seconds in pit stops here. between 26 to 30 seconds, depending on how quick he can get out of the pits. He's going to dive onto softs, it seems.
Interestingly,
There we go, he is now on soft tyres.
just as you were saying that, Fairmoto is having to defend from Surshot, who's putting himself in contention there to try and challenge him, but I'm not sure what happened. He suddenly lost a lot of time there to Fairmoto.
It's definitely one of those technical parts of the track where you cannot be too, generous on the throttle, otherwise you will just send it into the gravel traps. Great thing about around here is there's quite a lot of runoffs, so if you do make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. Let me see. One of Botch Gerbil. Oh my god, what a fantastic pass there from Botch Gerbil as he takes him at the end of the straight. A little bit of bumping wheels, but he definitely made the move stick on Sir Sharks, and he is instantly on the back foot. Fantastic move there from Botch Gerbil. If he does not get driver of the day for that move, I don't know what will.
Interestingly, the Josh 32 in the hat has stopped and gone onto softs. I think he's planning on mounting a late charge on Alcinado, who's obviously on light shock, in the Williams, who's on the mediums, and Alcinado, who's on slightly older rubber in the Ferrari down. Those spins costing him quite a few positions, unfortunately.
In talking about Jamie29X again, he is only running down in 8th position on fresh tyres. He's got those softs up to temperature, and he's took Maggott and Beckett in the best position I think I've ever seen anybody take Maggott and Beckett in the Red Bull. The Red Bull is notorious for high downforce, and it's reasonably good on the tyres. So we definitely saw that Jamie29X was running a lot longer on his tyres than everybody else. Has he found an alternative line around this track that nobody else has, and is just making the tyres last a lot longer? I don't know. We might need to ask him, hopefully, if he manages to get a podium at the end of the race.
DJ Danny, Razza and AC Oakhill having a fantastic battle. DJ Danny right on the back of Razza, but every corner they're inviting AC Oakhill in the pink Mercedes to catch right up to them. That's becoming a real three-way battle there for P9, P10 and P11. Fantastic racing between all three, all on the medium tyres, of course.
As we're actually watching on board with all of these guys now, and coming down the DRS straight, he's really good defense. It was almost free wide round there, and it does look like DJ Danny tried to mount an attack coming onto the inside of the corner, but he just couldn't get past Razza. Razza parked his car on that apex and told DJ Danny, "I'm sorry, but this is my race today."
Fantastic defensive driving there from Reza, but it was interesting as we were watching that. Fairmoto, who is currently running P2, has just picked up another 3-second time penalty. So it's starting to look, I think that's now a couple of penalties he's mounted up, which being in second position gives Botch Gerbil a real opportunity here to take this race win from James F1, who's also got a penalty.
I just want to point out as well that Sir Sharks has just gone into the pit. He's managed to make those mediums last for 17 laps.
Wow.
And those tyres are meant to die out after 11. So he's managed to go 6 laps longer, roughly. Anywhere between 11 and 13 laps is what the medium tyres are going to be really pushing their life for. And between 7 and 10 laps is at their optimum grip level. So it seems that he has managed to get that car around that track with tyres that, at any moment could have just went bang on him.
Absolutely fantastic driving to take them that long. As DJ Danny has now got past AC Oakhill and Razza.
Fairmoto is actually mounting an attack. Sorry, I need to get to this battle. As Fairmoto is pushing to get past. He was right on the rear end of James F1. This is going to mount up to be a fantastic race on the last 8 laps of Silverstone here.
I do wonder though, Andrew.
He's trying to come down the outside. He can't make it though.
I do wonder, Andrew, with those two, with James F1 and Fairmoto battling, is that going to invite the Botch Gerbil, who doesn't have any time penalties, to potentially look at mounting an attack on both of them?
It would not surprise me there, Matt, as I'm going to see these three driving down onto the start-finish straight now. Fantastic driving from these guys as they're literally on each other's tails. Oh, he's going to mount an attack on the inside. Fairmoto, is he going to sneak out of it? No, he just has to give back the position there. Oh, a little bit of a tap on the gearbox there. No damage, it seems, for Fairmoto, though.
Seems like Jamie...
Really close coming down the back straight, though.
Jamie 29X in that Red Bull on the soft has got up from P6. He's recovered fantastically well in this race. As DJ Danny's actually now dropped a position to AC Oakhill. Those two having a fantastic battle in the middle of the part for P9.
Fairmoto is all over the back now of James F1. You can see that that Renault has just got the extra bit of power in that car compared to the Honda engine.
He's absolutely dying to get past him, isn't he?
Yeah, I was actually speaking to Fairmoto yesterday, and it seems that he's really into what could be considered one of the best racing games on Xbox at the moment, which is ACC. Could be one of the next racing series that we run here on Invictus Racing League. I know that myself, I play it, and I've just gotten my co-commentator into it, didn't I, Matt?
I'm absolutely addicted. It's all I can think about at the moment, to be honest with you. It's a fantastic game.
I'm just thinking about, as soon as this race ends, can we get Fairmoto in to do some ACC?
I don't think he's going to turn it down. I definitely don't. As Jamie 29X has just set another fastest lap. That's 2 laps in a row now in that Red Bull. He has just set another fastest lap. He is absolutely flying.
Have about 5.5 laps though to make on those soft tyres. Can he do as well as he was doing on the mediums?
He is closing the gap up to the McLaren, of St. Rayner, and to the Renault of Stallion in P5 and P4.
And I do, yeah, St. Rayner has gone past now, yeah.
Absolutely fantastic pass, but it has invited Jamie 29X to join that battle, as I get a bit tongue-tied there.
Tongue-tied, yes. We all do, Matt, don't worry about it. It's such an invigorating race so far, so watching these guys pushing is just something of a dream, especially after what could be considered not one of the best races we've seen on Tuesday, with quite a lot of contact around Silverstone.
Botch Gerbil seems to have closed the gap up to Fairmoto here, and I think he may be looking at a move, trying to potentially make a pass in the next couple of laps if he can close that gap a little bit further.
We're in this sandwich now with Fairmoto. He's going to be not so much enjoying being behind James F1. His tyres definitely are starting to feel a little bit sluggish. You can see he's having to take a little bit of a slower line into the corners than he would like. The Pirellis are not made to last forever, unlike the Bridgestone and stuff like that back in the day. But we can't complain because it leads to some really interesting strategies from both team and driver.
As Jamie 29X is closing up the gap here to Stallion in the Renault, and it looks like, oh, he was potentially eyeing up a move there. He is, of course, on the softer and faster compounded tyre, being on the soft tyre. So it'd be interesting to watch that battle unfold, but does he have enough time to climb up a couple more positions? St. Rain is using the battle behind to open up a little bit of a gap there.
And that was definitely one of the drivers we were telling to watch out for, which was St. Rayner at the start of the race, because we knew that he was a fast guy, but it was being able to show it in the Xbox RP League in obviously a different car sometimes every week.
St. Johnston has got past DJ Danny to get up into P9. Him probably using the speed there of the faster Mercedes over the Williams car. As Alcinado in the Ferrari is trying to mount a charge here on Razza in the Alfa Romeo. Seems to be closing that gap up and seems to be pushing very, very fast and very hard indeed.
I'm just back at the grid now, Matt, just to catch up with IRL Matt, who is 35 seconds behind his teammate, the Josh 32. Both drivers not having the best of races, the Josh 32 having contact between lap 6 and 7 and being knocked out of contention. But it seems that the driver he had contact with, El Senado, has made up a few places since that incident. So he's definitely made up for the contact early on. The Josh 32 maybe not getting off scot-free there.
Just talking of Alcinado, he is trying to find a way past Raza in the Alfa Romeo, but it doesn't seem to be happening for him. But Fair Moto is again on the back of James F1 here. This battle has been non-stop for the whole race. It's been absolutely fantastic to watch. And again, Botch Gerbil has now closed that gap down to Fair Moto, so he's now starting to have his say in this battle for the win.
Sorry, Matt, I'm gonna have to cut in, but I'm just gonna watch. I've been watching the timing boards for the past lap, and Jamie29X has closed in on Stallion W7 in the Renault quite considerably, as he did have a little bit of a shaky start, didn't he, Matt?
He did. He had a little bit of front wing damage, and has just flown through the field with that Red Bull, and especially now on the softer compounder tyres. He seems to be closing up. I'm not sure if tyre wear and tyre temperature is now playing a huge factor for him, but he's managing those softs extremely well.
He's now actually mounting what could be considered an attempt at a faster lap. He's only got 3 laps to really go on these soft tyres. Can he manage to push it just a little bit more? That's all he needs to get out of that little RB16, is just a little bit more.
Alcinado here is right at the back of DJ Danny, obviously Ferrari versus Williams, and Raza is joining the battle as well, down in P11, P12. Fantastic, as James F1 has just picked up a penalty, interestingly, Andriy. Another 3-second time penalty.
That could be detrimental to both of these guys' performance, as Botch Gerbil at this moment will take the win of the 8th Grand Prix of the season here. 8 out of 12
and Botch
so far.
Gerbil has just got past Fair Moto here if he can make this move stick, so he has just moved up into P2 with a fantastic move there from Fair Moto. Fantastic driving from both of them.
Dying down on his pace with those medium tyres. This could be a chance for both Sync Rainer and Stallion W7 to catch up a little bit with the pack. They've got 5 seconds to make up in the next 2 laps. I don't know if it'll manage it, but you can see a lot of rubber out on that side of the track. If they go wide round there, and a little bit of a lock-up from Botch Gerbil, could this be enough for Fair Moto to mount his attack down the straight?
As that battle's going on, St. Johnson has just took AC Oakhill, sorry. A fantastic battle between them two going on as well. Jamie29 is still trying to close that gap down, and he has just overtook the other Renault there of Stallion to get up into P5. So an absolutely fantastic recovery from him.
Got 3 cars just battling for the lead at the moment here. Again, at the moment, if Botch Gerbil manages to keep this pace, he'll still win the race. He's managed to keep a very good line through here. Botch Gerbil, as we know, is a very fast guy, and I just want to point out to you, Matt, that this AlphaTauri has been so competitive around the high downforce tracks over the coming races. Especially, we're going to see quite a lot of battling as we are going to be in France next, so it could be interesting to see how the AlphaTauri performs around there, as we didn't see it last year, unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 pandemic in real life. But Botch Gerbil still pushing his car teammate James F1 just a little bit more.
I just want to say DJ Danny has been defending in that Williams to his heart content there. He's just defended off another attack from Raza, obviously last week's race winner, as obviously he's now driving the Alfa Romeos. Again, Raza's trying to overtake DJ Danny, but again DJ Danny defends. Botch Gerbil though is having a fantastic
race.
Danny doesn't
want to let any more places up, because at this moment in time, if DJ Danny finishes where he isn't actually going to gain too many points, and his competitors could be having a chance of catching up, such as Sir Sharks. But again, he's actually, all the top runners in this race are in the lower regions of the championship at the moment. I think the closest driver we have in the points at the moment that could benefit is James F1 ETC, who is actually down in 8th position at the moment. He's 88 points, and the top scorer at the moment is DJ Danny. He's 118. So if you do the maths now, he could be back up there. He could be up in 3rd position, as IRL Mats has not managed to do very well over the past few races, and has only got 100 points to his name.
It's going to be very interesting to see if DJ Danny can hold on to that position, of course. But Fairmoto has just picked up another 3-second time penalty down in P3, which I'm now looking at the times. I think Jamie29X and St. Rainer may have potentially jump above him if they don't get any more penalties. So Fairmoto could lose a couple of positions there.
In actually talking right now, I'm just having a quick read over the championship results. El Senedo came in at the Italian Grand Prix, which was the first Grand Prix that I done for IRL, and I remember he had such a fantastic race that he managed to go into P2 in that race, and then he got 14 points and then 13 points in the last race. So he's only put himself up in 12th position in the championship from only being able to do 4 races out of the 8 so far, and this is his 4th. So he's actually put himself in good contention, even though at the moment he is running in 10th position in what is probably one of the most diabolical attempts of making an F1 car from Ferrari. We won't talk about that, but I'm not a Ferrari fan, so everybody that was a Ferrari fan can throw their comments in the chat and I'll read them sometime.
Well, DJ Danny has done so well at defending that he's now invited Sir Sharks here to overtake Raza, so that's a fantastic battle. As Botch Gerbil, it looks like, has took the win there.
I would like to just make a comment out to one of my closest friends of all time, who's actually joined us for this evening to watch the chat. He is Mr. Joseph the Great. He has followed the channel. What a fantastic guy. I can't wait to have a conversation with you again soon, buddy. And that is the end of our race here. And Botch Gerbil, I think we ended up losing the end of that race as we got a little bit caught up, but that is our end of positions. There's St. Rainer actually goes up into P2 without penalties. Fantastic racing from him.
It was an absolutely fantastic
I'm not gonna lie
race.
to you, that went like a blast. That went like nothing, and fantastic from Botch Gerbil to push himself up into what could only be concerned as one of the best positions to ever finish around Silverstone, which is first. As we're going to watch these guys staring out over the grandstands for the final time here at Silverstone to wish very much a farewell to it as the end of the 50th anniversary race.
I think the race certainly did the track and the event justice, certainly did. It was a fantastic race from start to finish.
It's Yuki Tsunoda wannabe, but we'll throw that there. But there we go, St. Rainer, his first podium in Xbox F1 RP history. It was very much a good one, well deserved from him. Such a fantastic comeback drive after being spun out after in the middle laps there. Very unfortunate to see, but fantastic from him too. And here's your standings for today's race. In first position we have Botch Gerbil in the AlphaTauri. In second we have St. Rainer in the McLaren. In third, we have James F1 ETC in the AlphaTauri. In fourth, we have Mr. Fairmoto in the Renault. In fifth, we have Ice Cream 05 in the Racing Point. In sixth, we have Stallion W7. In seventh, we have Jamie29X. In eighth, we have St. Johnston 02. In ninth, we have AC Oakhill. In 10th, we have DJ Danny. In 11th, we have Sir Sharks. In 12th, we have El Senedo. In 13th, we have Raza 410. In 14th, we have Light Shock 16. And we go down a bit. In 15th, we have the Josh 32. In 16th, we have IRL Mats. And unfortunately, not finishing the race was M. Watson today around Silverstone. Now, Matt, let's talk the race. How did that go?
I don't know where to start. It was just action from one end of the track to the other. An absolutely incredible race, but it does show the importance of time penalties. there. Sync Rayner has just absolutely leapt into the podium places just from effectively keeping the car within the track limits. It was a fantastic race all round.
Yeah, what a fantastic race. And I think in talking that way, I'm going to just quickly invite some of the guys to the party. Who else do I need to invite? So we've got Sync Rayner. I need Bots Gerbil, who I'm still waiting to load in. And who was it that finished first? Was it at the end James F1 ETC, was it?
I believe so.
Managed.
It'd be interesting to get these drivers' perspective on such a fantastic race.
So that's him there, and we're still just waiting to get everybody in. And Sync Rainer's in the chat. James F1 ETC got an invite, and we're looking for... Oh, who was the other guy? I'm so bad for this. My short-term memory is like generally dead.
that makes both of us.
Hopefully we can at least speak to one of the drivers, as everybody has been instructed they're not meant to leave the lobby until the top three are not meant to leave the lobby.
Fingers crossed,
I've
unlike
invited...
last week, the technical issues sort themselves out.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hopefully manage to invite James F1 to the party again, and hopefully he gets in. And I need to search up Bots Gerbil and get him into the party as well. Can I just remind you guys to make sure your audio is included in the broadcast as well when you join the party? As I just try and get Mr. Bots Gerbil. Hopefully that's his name. Yeah, there is. And we will invite him to the party, and we'll have his point of view.
What an absolutely incredible race. Fantastic to watch.
I'm not going to lie to you, that is probably one of the best races I've commentated on
DJ,
in Xbox F1.
I think it's DJ Danny's defensive driving in that Williams. He was under attack from everybody, and he defended that position fantastically in the battle at the front. Such incredible close racing. Any one of those drivers could have took the win today.
Oh yeah, definitely, and I think it all came down to penalties once again, as hopefully we can speak to our third place finisher, James F1 ETC. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm not bad, guys. How are you guys?
Oh, doing great. Now, let's talk your race. How did it go from your perspective?
Oh, love a good race. I will say that. Like, yeah, that's quite something. It definitely, obviously, it's a bit like processional from my point of view at the start. Just staying behind Keith, just sort of trying to save the good old energy. But to be fair, the Renaults did have really strong pace. But yeah, then the second half, literally as soon as coming out the pits, side by side with Keith was absolutely nuts. And then yeah, to be honest, like the whole realistic thing, I enjoy it like more just because I think it's more about the actual racing. I'm not necessarily that like as fussed about winning, but yeah, I just enjoy a good race, and that definitely delivered from the top three standpoint.
Yeah, I think from us in the commentary box watching down on you guys that whole race, that really was something. And to mark the 50th anniversary race of Xbox F1 RP, that was definitely a race to remember. And I also want to say, you know, just on another question, when you were battling with Keith, did you at any point feel under threat from the cars behind?
I knew that Gerbil was coming. Like as soon as I sort of figured that I had the pace probably to overtake Keith, but not enough to pull a gap. As soon as I sort of clocked that and I saw Gerbil was, you know, around the 2-second mark, then I pretty much knew it was only a matter of time before he joined on. And obviously at that point, me and Keith already had penalties, so sort of knew that okay, that was gone. But yeah, the actual like the threat from like Sync Rayner, for instance, like didn't even clock on. Was just like more fussed about what was going on in front of us, and I'm sure that Keith was the same. But yeah, it's still worst case scenario. It ended up being a third instead of a second. But yeah, no, not bad at all.
I think from another standpoint as well, you had a fantastic race to definitely watch back and take points from, and I think yourself as a driver, you had a very good move on Fairmoto to really look back on and probably put that into some sort of compilation. Let's not make it a COD compilation, but let's say it was good enough. Matt, have you got any questions for him before we let him go?
It was obviously a absolutely fantastic race. What do you think was eventually the difference for you between obviously getting on the podium and not? Was it the strategy of the tyres from your pit stop?
I wouldn't say it was the strategy per se. I'd say it was more just about, to be honest, it was the difficulty in the first in particular was just keeping the nose clean from like a penalty standpoint. When you're in that dirty air, when you're in that dirty air, obviously it's fantastic for DRS down the straight, and sure, it's easy to hold on to the car to the car in front, but yeah, that loss of downforce, particularly around like a high-speed track like Silverstone, it really makes like cops in particular a massive challenge. And so yeah, I think, to be honest, like that was sort of the overriding difference, just having the clear air versus not having the clear air, and having the DRS at the right and wrong times, really.
I think you're completely spot on, and well done on an absolutely fantastic race.
Just before we let you go, I want to implement this in. Who do you think, from your point of view, and you can say yourself, is the driver of the day from you?
Good shout. I mean, obviously, it's quite easy to say Rayner straight off the bat. In particular, having like the spin early doors. So yeah, I would say Rayner. Jamie's also a good shout, just because hooray, he actually like finished a race. Definitely struggled with that recently. Yeah, I'd say Rayner.
Definitely. Well done, James, and hopefully we can speak to you again soon on another podium.
Cheers, guys. All the best.
Well done.
Well done, man. Sync Rayner.
Hello.
Now, let's get into your race.
It was an interesting one.
I really do. I want to hear the race from your point of view after that, like especially before and after the spin.
Before the spin, it was I don't know, my car just seemed to be quicker than everyone else around me. Like a lot of the cars in front of me were like the slower cars, like the Williams it has. So before the spin, it was just trying to overtake people as quick as possible, because I knew I had the better car. I knew I was quicker than them. And then after the spin, it was just I felt like the rest of the race was just not getting penalties and trying to get the gap down to the top three as much as I could.
Damage limitation. Yeah.
Yeah,
I get that. I know from obviously racing in ACC and stuff like that, and obviously I done a bit of F1 in the past, that if you have a spin like that, it's just about trying to find your rhythm again. Would you say you definitely found your rhythm again, or were you still a little bit off it?
I mean, I started at the back. It's the first race I've done in this league, or in this tier anyway. It's the first realistic race I've done in a long time, so I had nothing to lose. So I was just be happy, and I just thought, well, another 16, 17 laps, just carry on. I mean, I had nothing to lose at that point. I started at the back anyway. But,
yeah, no, I think you definitely worked to get you on the podium. Obviously, you didn't have any penalties, and it was just a case of pushing that car to its limits and not pushing too hard. But yeah, I'm gonna let Matt ask a question, because I think he might have one for you.
So,
He's there. Has he died? Oh, there he is. He's there.
can you still hear me? No, I was going to ask, was penalties something you were conscious of going into the race? Were you conscious of the fact of keeping your nose clean, or was it just it was something you focused on?
I picked up 2 warnings, but they were both like, you know, those silly, like, you just lost concentration sort of thing.
Yes.
I picked up 2 where I completely cut stow once. I don't know how. because I completely cut the corner, so I just lost concentration. So I had to go like the last 8 laps, I think it was, about getting one. But then when I saw Keith get 9 seconds, I thought, oh, if I get a warning now, if I get a penalty, it's not make a difference. I'll still get. Last couple of laps was a bit easier, but that brief moment was like, right, just don't get a penalty. You're catching him a lot.
Yeah.
So
Definitely done very well there, man. Oh, sorry, man. You got another question for him?
you took the words straight out of my mouth.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm gonna ask one more question. Obviously, I asked
go on.
James this. From your point of view, who was the driver of the day? And you can say yourself.
I can't say. I'd probably give it to Botstrobel just because he kept it clean as well. And same like from my point of view, same like just a pretty clean race. Didn't get in any sort of trouble with the place to be at the front in the midfield course. So yeah, I guess I give it to him.
That was very respectable. Right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us in the comms box for interviews, and hopefully we see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Stay safe.
Cheers.
And that concludes all our racing for this evening. What a fantastic race, wasn't it, Matt?
It was just enthralling from start to end, and very interesting that St. Rayner was very conscious of the penalties, so very tactical on his behalf, and very well done for keeping his nose clean on those last few laps.
Yes, definitely. And I just want to note out to everybody that in the battle for Constructors' Championship, there is, in between top 3 championship contenders, there is less than 20 points between first and third at the moment. There's about 30 points between first and fourth. So it's still really tight. It could be down to Hotshot Racing, Shark Nipples F1, W7, and Viper Motorsport. All those guys are going to be fighting for positions here. And actually, Shark Nipples F1, James F1 ETC today obviously getting a podium there. Fairmoto finishing 4th for Hotshot Racing. So, and Botch Gerbil for Viper Motorsport as well. So quite a lot of the high profile drivers in the championship getting some major points today to continue their Constructors' Championship fight, let alone their own championship fight. Now, without further ado, I am going to greet you guys farewell for another week of Xbox F1 RP race. And that is going to be bye from me and goodbye from Matt.
A very good bye from me.
Stay safe, guys.